All right, hey guys, welcome to week 7. This week we're going to be diving into the texturing process. I think it's quite a while ago, but I think we left off with the baking and the UV just before Christmas. And we're kind of ready to get stuck in to start texturing this guy. So I have a supplemental video coming where I sort of go through a little bit more of the steps that I didn't get a chance to show you guys in the class. That'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. But I'll just quickly show you where I am at with this guy. Okay, so he's fully baked. We've got all the pieces. Yeah, here we go. So we've got all the normal map pieces all pieced together. Same with the AO map. And this is kind of where I left off last lesson. We're sort of like baking a couple of these pieces out. So I've gone ahead and properly UV'd it. The first thing you'll notice is it's not covering the whole 0 to 1 space. The reason being is for this piece, it's going to go on to be used in a different project, and the requirements for that project is that it needed to have a sort of like a half-size texture, so like a 512 by 1024 resolution. That's just for performance reasons, just to cut down on sort of texture memory. So that's why it's sort of got this sort of strange half use going on with the texture. So we're only actually going to be using this much, and in Maya, sort of like the final step before we export it out to game, we'll be sort of stretching out the UVs to cover the 0 to 1 space. So it sort of takes into account this aspect ratio, but I'll show you guys how to do that later on. So we've UV'd it properly, we've baked it all, we've pieced it all together, and we sort of have our normal map and our AO map all good to go. From there, like the next steps that I'll do is bring it to Photoshop and start sort of grouping it all and piecing it all together, ready to sort of start texturing. And I'll run through sort of what I've done here. And this is sort of my prep stage before I jump into the 3D code and begin texturing this guy up. So what I've done is bring up the model. Okay, so all I've done is export out the UVs so I can see them in Photoshop. And the way I've done that is just select the model, bring up your UV texture editor in Maya, and go Polygons UV Snapshot. And I've just exported out a 1024 by 1024 as a target. And I've brought that into Photoshop. It comes in looking something like this. And all I've done is just invert it, set it to multiply, and drop the opacity, and then you've got sort of like a light overlay. So you can see what you're working with a little bit better if you need to. From there, I've got my normal map, and all I've done is throw on a mask on this folder, just so it's not so important with the normal map because I won't be painting on this, but it's more applicable for the diffuse, where if I do need to paint on this, it won't sort of bleed over into these sort of crevices when nothing is needed. It's more like a cleanliness thing, just so I don't have weird smudges all through my map as I'm working. It just gets rid of that and keeps things nice and crisp and clean. Okay, what's next? Then I have the diffuse channel, and that's basically starting off with sort of like a flat neutral gray. And on top of that, I've got the AO map that we had. And all I've done is just set that to multiply and drop the opacity a bit. And there it is, just sitting on top of my base layer. I then threw a curves layer on top just to sort of lessen some of the values. What I'm trying to do here is I don't want the AO dramatically affecting this base layer too much, because in the future, well, next step, sorry, I'm actually going to be painting on this layer. And the colors I choose, I kind of want them to be not, I don't want them to be affected too much by this AO. If it was, let's bring this over here. If it was like too bright, where's this? Yeah, if this is like too bright or too dark, it might start to affect the values a little bit too much. It's not doing it too much on the AO, but it becomes apparent more with the cavity map. In that, if I turn off this layer, you can sort of see in this region here, it's quite bright, and by turning on this cavity, this curves layer where I sort of dull the values a bit, it's sort of keeping it at that sort of neutral gray level. I'm not sort of shifting my values too much with these two maps. And the reason I do that is just so the colors I paint aren't warped, I guess, too much by these two lighting layers.